Hey vinyl community, Austin here, and I am going to go through the records I got for Record Store Day 2019. Quick rundown, the record store I went to was pretty much twice as packed as it was last year, at least at the same time. I got there about 20-30 minutes later than last year because I wasn't that fond of the list, and there was nothing that I absolutely had to have, unlike last year. So I made it there about 20 to 30 minutes later than normal, and I ended up being about twice as far back in line. I went from, I don't know, 30th or 40th last year to probably 60 to 70th this year, which kind of sucked, but I ended up getting everything I wanted. And I know a lot of you don't like edits in videos, so I'm gonna apologize for that, but my phone will not sync up my voice to the video. It's been screwing that up the last 20 times I've tried to record. I've had to delete those. So I've got to go back to using a camera, which shuts off like every few minutes. So I pretty much have to edit these, and if you don't like them, I'm sorry, but it's the only way I can do them right now. So I got Pink Floyd, A Saucer Full of Secrets, their second album, the last with Syd Barrett and the first with David Gilmour, although I've heard that Syd Barrett doesn't really do much on here. This album is okay in my opinion. I like their first two albums. The next few are nah, and then you get into metal, and I think they hit a bit of a stride, and it just gets better and better. This packaging is not nearly as intense and well done as the Piper at the Gates of Dawn mono reissue from last year, but it is fairly sturdy, and it looks like nice repro packaging. I don't know how that's coming through, but there's the Columbia silver labels. But yeah, I got that. Another thing I wanted to pick up was the Office Space soundtrack. I absolutely love this movie and love the soundtrack. It's a gatefold. The soundtrack is comprised of mainly hip-hop songs from like Ghetto Boys, Scarface, Biz Markie, basically like late 90s hip-hop, and it's on translucent red. Another thing I picked up was the alternate Fleetwood Mac. So these are alternative takes from their Fleetwood Mac album, the White Album, which had Rhiannon and Landslide and I'm So Afraid, Over My Head, all those sweet songs. I haven't listened to that yet, but I listened to the Tusk one that I got a couple years ago. Really liked it, so I thought that I would probably like that one. This is the Badfinger, So Fine, Warner Brothers Rarities. So their last two albums, their last two albums with Pete Ham, their Badfinger self-titled album, and then Wish You Were Here. These are rarities and different mixes from those albums. It's a gatefold, got a picture of the band, tells you about each song. Now this says it's on translucent red, but it really looks orange, which I'm not let down by because that's my favorite color, but it definitely comes off as orange. Another thing I got is, being a Houston native, I had to get the Lightnin Hopkins Strums the Blues. This one I was on the fence about, but I mean, just because I've got so much Lightnin Hopkins stuff, but I ended up getting it and don't regret it at all. Original presses from this, from like 1958, go for a few $100, so this is probably the closest I'll ever get to owning one. That was done by Third Man, and I like some of the stuff that they put out, so glad to support that. And then the last thing is the Best of Townes Van Zandt. Now, I'm not a giant Townes fan, but I'm not opposed to Townes. I haven't really listened to him. I listen to a few songs, and I know them, and you know, I could get on board with it, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and what better way than to hear the best of. So I got that, and it's on what they call Tiger's Eye vinyl, which is this kind of gold, brown, and black with a little bit of orange mixed in. And it's pretty rad. That might be my favorite thing I got this year, and I'm not even a giant fan of the artist. The one thing I had on my list that I missed out on was the Allman Brothers live at Fillmore East, 1970. But I'm pretty sure that was a Record Store Day first release, so I'll be able to pick it up later, and even if it wasn't, I'm sure it won't be that expensive in the aftermarket. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's what I picked up. Not a whole lot, but I like them. I like them enough to drop a couple $100 on them. So yeah, sorry about the editing. If you're not a fan, I just didn't have much of a choice. So thanks for watching. Thanks for making it to the end, and good luck digging out there.